Hey everybody, welcome into another brand new edition of Make Every Second Count Live. Now, I'm your host, Jeff Marconette Jr., and award-winning international Make Every Second Count speaker. And tonight's episode is going to be awesome. It is about 4 simple steps to finding and adding more joy to your life. I am so excited about this because you see, when I was 17, I was involved in a car accident, a nearly fatal car accident. I spent 2.5 months in a coma and 3.5 in the hospital. They told me I wouldn't walk again, but here I am, and I like to add value to the world. So I ask you if you would please help me trick the algorithm and give this all the thumbs up in the world. Give it hearts, give it smiley faces, give it frowny faces, faces. It doesn't matter. Just give it some kind of face or thumbs up. I am very, very, very proud of my guest tonight, and I hope that each and every one of you out there will share this video out, invite people to watch this video, and just tag all kinds of people in the comments. And so I would like to introduce to you Lisa.
Hello, how are you, Jeff?
Hi, Lisa. Now, I happen to absolutely love your nickname, the Joy Seeker. So that is one of my things about finding joy, having
Yes.
joy in your heart. So I really appreciate that. Now, I have to ask you if you would please introduce yourself. Tell
Yeah.
everybody a little bit about yourself, who you are, what you do, and more importantly, why you do what you do. I would
Mm,
love that. And I'm going to be inviting people on my phone to make sure I get this episode packed for you.
awesome. Well, thank you for that. Yes. So, someone once called me a joy seeker, and I thought, I love that because my passion in life is to spread joy, create joy, and help people find more joy in their life. And, I'm a firm believer in we don't have to have perfect lives in order to be joyful. We can be joyful through our challenges and despite our struggles. It's just a matter of being intentional about it. And so my story is one where I started being very vocal about some of the challenges that I have because I realized that people thought I had it all together and had no challenges and no issues. And that's why I was so positive and optimistic, where nothing could be further from the truth. I had challenges just like everybody else, but I'm joyful through them. And that I hope will inspire others to do the same. So, my story, I am living out here in Denver, Colorado. I am married and I have two great kids. They're 13 and 10. And I also struggle with obsessive compulsive disorder and high anxiety. And that's something that up until a couple of years ago, I never shared with anybody. And I realized that it's important that I share my struggles to inspire people to be joyful despite their struggles as well. Because we all have something that we're challenged with and struggling through, but we can be joyful despite that. So I wrote a book. It's called Bursting with Happiness. It's available on Amazon. I host a podcast with the same name, and I'm a life coach. I love encouraging people and supporting people to find more joy in their life. I want them to shoot for the moon and just go for what's going to make them happy because we all have unlimited potential. We just need to figure out a plan on how to get there. So, in a very tiny nutshell, that's me, my friends.
That is amazing. Now, the reason I think you are exceptional is because you said that beside the point that you're always joyful, that you seem to have it all together. You're actually going through things. See, that is one of the main reasons I wanted to start this show, because
Yeah.
I know all these successful people. I know all these people that are big time in the motivational speaking world, big time in the author world.
Yep.
But people don't see that each and every person out there has had to go through, well, I like to say grow through
Yep.
something to get
Yeah.
to where they are now.
I like
And
that.
how they grew is something that I like to share because it can help other people. So when you say you suffer with obsessive compulsive disorder,
Mhm.
how does that affect you, if you don't mind me asking?
Oh, of course. So I've had it since I was a kid. I was 6 years old, and I can remember being scared that something bad was gonna happen to my family or to myself or to someone that I loved. The fear of something horrible happening. I can remember being 6 years old and sitting at the kitchen table, and my dad was changing one of those watch batteries. If you remember, they were super tiny, and
Yeah.
I couldn't get it out of my mind that what if he left it on the table by accident and somebody accidentally ate it at dinner that night? What if something
Wow.
terrible would have happened? That would be horrible. Somebody would die from that. And I couldn't get it out of my head that that was a possibility. Even though he told me repeatedly he threw it away and took care of it, I couldn't get that fear out of my mind. And that's the very first memory that I have of something bad happening. And it grew from there with other similar experiences. So my parents realized something wasn't quite right and supported me, got me some help, and I was able to live a relatively uneventful childhood. Most people never knew that I had these fears. I only shared them with my mom and my dad. And then throughout high school, college, I was okay. Couple of bumps along the way when I got married, but I was doing well. I was using the tools that I have to push through the anxiety and the fear that I was living with until March 2020 when COVID hit. If you tell somebody who's afraid of germs to
that
wash their hands more
that had to
frequently,
think.
because up until that point, the fears that I had were pretty much made up in my mind. You know, the fears and the connections that I would make to potential danger was very much in my head, and I could rationalize my way out of it. When COVID happened, this was a very real threat. I said, we can't do anything. We can't go anywhere. We can't see anybody. This is horrible. Danger, danger, danger. I couldn't realistically realize what was a responsible amount of risk to take versus any risk at all. And so I shut my family down. We're not going to do anything with anybody. We lived that way for 3 months. And my parents, the tipping point came when my parents came for a visit in our backyard outside. We sat 15 feet apart because if 6 is recommended, 15 is better. And my poor my poor dad had to go to the restroom. And I told him absolutely not. You are not allowed to come into my house. That's not allowed. That's dangerous. You absolutely not. And they understood. My parents left and I cried because I realized then and there that I couldn't keep doing that. I needed help. The tools that I had to get through my obsessive ways and my fear-based thinking were no longer serving me. And so I reached out for some support. I needed to be able to function during this difficult time, especially since I have kids. I needed to be able to live instead of just existing, which is what we were doing because of my
Makes
fear. It was
sense.
too much.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That
So I got
that's
the help that I
that's
needed.
that's that's crazy. Now,
Yeah.
I
Tough.
have Adam Mark Robinson here in the comments that says
Yeah.
he also has high anxiety, OCD, and autism. He hopes that everybody knows that every day can be a battle, and also he's asking if there's a way to get in touch with you to on ways to overcome things.
Yes, of course,
So
of course. Yeah. So my website
we
is
will go
I can
ahead.
share that later.
Sorry.
I was just going to say my website is thejoyseeker.com. That's my website. And I will tell you, Adam, that one of the biggest things that has come out of this for me, through my therapy, because when I realized I needed help and support getting through this, I started seeing a counselor virtually for, every week, because what I needed to do was reassess my relationship with risk and with being uncomfortable. And the idea was, yes, COVID was real and the threats were real, but that didn't mean that life had to be an all or nothing thing. For me, any amount of risk is not enough risk. I didn't fly for the longest time because I was afraid of something bad happening. Somebody told me, well, you do realize there's a 0.001% chance of something bad happening. And I said, exactly. You just proved my point. And what I needed to do was realize that just because something is possible doesn't mean it's probable. And I needed to reassess my discomfort in pushing back from those instincts that I had that in my mind were keeping me and my family safe. So it's just about resisting the urge to go into that mindset of the what if and stay in the present and realize that if something bad does happen, I'll deal with it. I'll handle it. I'm
Yeah.
strong enough to do that rather than assuming that it's going to happen. Just knowing that right now I'm doing the best I can. And if something goes sideways, I'll figure it out. Life changing.
That is amazing. That is great. I thank you so much for sharing that with us, because that can be beneficial to so many other people. But
Yeah.
here on this show, I would like to say hi to my dad, hi to Maria, who is watching from Massachusetts, hi to Chris Jr., who is watching from Nigeria,
Wow.
hi to Matt Shelby, hi to Jason Daniels, hi to Tracy Kincaid, hi to Wade Milner, hi to David Robertson, hi to Helen Thomas, and we thank you guys so much for watching with us. Please ask as many questions as you would like. Keep the comments flowing in, because I love seeing that. Make sure you're giving us thumbs up, hearts, smiley faces, frowny faces, crying faces. Just help me trick the algorithm by doing that. I would appreciate that. And Maria, I will get to your questions a little later on in the show. So I, we need to go ahead and jump into learning those 4 simple steps you
Yes.
have to helping other people add joy to their life.
Yes, I'm so excited to share these with you all. So it's actually made up of the word care, CARE, and each letter stands for something because who doesn't love when that happens, right? Something to make it easy
Yeah,
to remember. So the
yeah,
first step is with the C and the A letters. So the idea is we all have something that we don't love about ourselves. Maybe we don't appreciate ourselves, or we have this illusion that everybody else has everything figured out, and we're hard on ourselves because we have a shortcoming in our mind. The C stands for change, and the A stands for accept. So when you have something in your heart that you're not happy about, for me, let's say it's my anxiety when I was trying to get through the OCD and the fear based around COVID. we have a choice. We can either change the thing that we don't like about ourselves or the thing that's keeping us from being as happy as we know we can be, or we can accept it. And I think about these in terms of the C is something that if I don't change it or improve it, I'm not going to be as happy as I know I can be. The A is accepting it. So, yeah, it's something I'd like to change, but is it keeping me from being as joyful as I know I can be? No. For example, let's say my anxiety around COVID. For a while there, I was accepting it because I thought this is temporary. I just need to get through this. When that situation happened with my dad, I realized, nope, that fear that I have is now in the change category. I have to figure out how to improve that, not only for me, but for my family, so we can be as happy as I know we can be. So I came up with the plan. I researched therapists and counseling services. I found support groups online. I started talking about it. I needed to improve that situation. I knew I couldn't fix it because I will always have my anxiety and my OCD. It's always going to be a part of me. But the difference is I could improve the situation with some new tools so that it wasn't keeping me from being as joyful as I know I can be. Now, compare that to the A. If something goes in the A category, it's something that you're going to accept right now. So maybe it's the amount of exercise you're doing, or maybe it's eating healthy. Maybe you're like, that's an area that I can improve upon. The question you have to ask is it keeping you from being as joyful as you know you can be? If the answer is no, it's not keeping me from being happy, then it goes in the accept category. Now, the trick is if something goes in that accept category, there's no guilt, there's no stress, there's no feeling like a failure around it. That's where it belongs right now. The trick is to also constantly reevaluate it. The things that were in the accept category, they may move into the change category. It may get to a point where you say, you know what? I do need to tackle my fitness. I need to start getting into a program, being more intentional about it. Then it gets moved into the change category and you come up with a plan. But if it's something that goes in that accept category, that's where it belongs right now. There's no guilt. There's no feelings of failure around it. We're always juggling it. And if we put too many things into that change category, we won't improve anything because we're overwhelmed. So we need to really focus on the most important things that are keeping us from being as happy as we know we can be. Does that make sense, Jeff?
Yeah, completely. It
Yeah.
does. And I'm reminded of a quote that I heard that was or wait, accept everything and expect nothing.
There you go.
So that really just it reminds me of that so much because you're not expecting anything, but you're accepting the things that you get, and then that helps you find more joy. Just
Yeah.
like, need to change these things, or can I just accept them?
Yes. Yes. That there's so much
So the
freedom in accepting who we are. I mean, if it's something that's really keeping you from being happy, that's one thing. That's something, if let's put a plan in place and let's get to work. But if it's a perceived shortcoming that, you feel bad about, like let's say you're a bad cook. Okay, fine. I know I'm a bad
I
cook.
don't
Keeping
cook.
me, right? Is it keeping me from being joyful? No, I don't care. Then there's no shame in it.
Mm,
There's no need to fix it or improve it because it doesn't matter. It's not keeping you from being as happy as you know you can be. Let's save our energy for the stuff that really matters. And that's really the point. Focus on what really matters and you want to improve.
yep.
So
So
the off,
C was for change, A was for accept.
yep. So it's
I
making a
I'm
choice.
Yep. All right, cool.
So the R, it stands for reassess. So in my book, Bursting with Happiness, I write all about my belief that it's those tiny bursts of joy that are going to add up to make a wonderful and happy life. And the more bursts of joy we can incorporate into our lives, the happier lives we have. And we have to be intentional about our bursts of joy because there's so much in this world we can't control and we don't have control over. It's important to own our joy. So a burst of joy is something that makes you smile, something that makes your mind relax and just puts you in a really good space. And those bursts of joy can be anything. They can be music, they can be exercise, they can be talking on the phone with a friend, they can be doing a puzzle. The reassess is a step that encourages you to reassess what brings you a burst of joy. So you may think that you know everything about you, and you might, but I'm willing to bet that there are things about you that could bring you a burst of joy that you're not even aware of because you're no longer the same person you've always been. And so a perfect example of this, I love football. I love football. I never watched a
Who's
football
your
game in my
team?
life. Well, I live in Denver, so technically the Denver Broncos, but we're struggling these
Hey,
days.
they just got Russell Wilson today,
I
though.
know. What? So we'll see what happens. I'm excited. I'm hopeful. Fingers crossed. But the
Yeah.
point is, I have never found joy in football. About 8 or 10 years ago, I was at a friend's house and she had a football game on. And I sat on the couch and I watched it. And I saw the excitement and the enthusiasm. And I asked a lot of questions and the strategy. And I was like, holy moly, I might like football. And I put that hypothesis to the test to watch a game the next weekend. And I loved it. And now it brings me a ton of joy. If I hadn't been open to that possibility that it could bring me joy, I would be missing out on a lot. So, reassess is a step that invites you to challenge what you believe will bring you joy. If you've never liked sushi, I challenge you to try it. Maybe it's been 5, 10 years
Uh,
since you've given it a shot, but maybe,
no,
just
I've never
maybe,
tried it.
what's the worst that can happen, Jeff? What's the worst that can
You
happen?
you die? You die from eating cooked fish? You get
Most people
sick?
don't, my friend, but fair enough.
No,
Try
I
something
understand that.
try something new. And then the E
Yeah.
is for embrace. So once you know what brings you joy, a burst of joy, whether it's music that you've loved for decades or something new that you discover in that reassess statement, make sure you intentionally incorporate it into your daily life. For me, I love Barry Manilow, Jeff. I'm a huge Barry Manilow fan. Can't get enough of him. I intentionally listen to him at least 1 or 2 songs a day because you can know that something brings you joy, but unless you actually do it, it doesn't matter. You have to carve in time to do those things that make you happy. Tiny bursts of joy, tiny amount of time add up to a big impact.
That is awesome. So, guys, I want to remind you of the 4 steps that she told us. And so, the C for in care. Care helps you remember. I have Terrence Leftridge in my life that he is a motivational speaker and he
Mm.
does everything as an acronym. So I find this to be pretty funny. So the C is for change, the A is for accept, the R is for reassess, and the E is for embrace. So
Perfect. You got
yeah,
it.
that's great. Now we have a couple questions here from the audience. So first of all, Maria wants to know what do you offer as a life coach?
So, as a life coach, I just love it. I got my certification last year. Basically, that just means that I've learned how to Ask people the right questions. A life coach is somebody who is there to listen and help you figure out what you want and the steps to getting there. Pure and simple. So I've helped people with personal habits. Maybe they wanted to start doing something that they weren't doing quite yet, positive behaviors. Basically, I serve as your accountability partner, your cheerleader, and your sounding board. I've worked with people who want to make a career change and they just don't know what they want. So through my questions, we're able to unpack it and get to what they want most out of life and then how to come up with a plan to achieving it. It's all about steps, breaking that big goal down into small, tangible steps, consistency, because even a little bit of movement toward a goal is movement. And sometimes we forget that.
Yeah, I forget who it is, but they say if you can crawl, then crawl. If you can walk, then walk. If you
Yep.
can run, then run. But keep moving, because
100%.
with I know Einstein also says that a bike in motion doesn't tip over near as easy as a bike that's standing still.
Absolutely. And we don't give
So
ourselves enough credit. And as a coach, I love to be someone's cheerleader. I will help them see the progress that they've made, that they're stronger than they think they are. Because sometimes we don't remember that when we're so focused on a goal and what we don't have, we don't see how far we've come and what we have accomplished. So it's my privilege to be able to help inspire people of their own power and greatness.
that's great. Now we have another one from Maria that says, "What steps did you take to become a life coach?"
So I got online and did some research on the different programs out there. There are some certifications. You don't have to be certified, but I felt like I wanted a little bit more knowledge about the questions to ask and how to best serve people. Maria, send me an email if you want. I'm at lisa@thejoyseeker.com. Happy to help you figure it out and answer any questions that you have.
All right. And then we have one from my dad, who's always being funny. Barry Manilow sings a song called "I Write the Songs," but he didn't write that song.
Jeff,
So
mad
that's
props, my
kind of
friend.
funny.
That is absolutely right. I am highly impressed with your Barry Manilow knowledge. That is a unknown factoid, and you are 100% right. I'm proud of you.
My dad knows a bunch of useless knowledge. He'd get on Jeopardy. All right. And then uh Ben Bruce says, "Hey, Coach Lisa, tell us more about your book."
So the book is so fun. It's Bursting with Happiness. Again, it's on Amazon. And I wrote it to inspire people to find their bursts of joy every single day. And I talk about the 10 things that bring me joy. And chapter 1 is bravery. When I am able to push through my desire to perform a compulsion or my fears that I have, that brings me a ton of joy. And so I go into my backstory about when I first realized I struggled with this condition and how I'm pushing through it. I talk about COVID and how hard that was for someone like me who has this fear-based thinking already. And then I talk about just these smaller things that bring me joy. And the idea is to inspire people to find more joy in their lives. And I have little challenges at the end of each chapter to encourage people to do just that. Yes, I see Adam's
That's
comment
great.
about the
I
Denver
think,
Broncos.
yeah, well, he's a football fan, so I would like to point out that Adam said that he will be using the methods for sure. God bless you
Wonderful.
both. Take care. So I like to keep my audience engaged. So it's great when people actually comment.
Yeah,
And
it really
then
is.
Ben said, "Thanks, Lisa. He appreciates you."
My
So
pleasure.
is there? I know you've already done it, and Maria kind of got me out of order here, but do you have any other contact information you would like to give out?
Yeah, for sure. So my website is the greatest place to find all of the information about my book, about my coaching, about my podcast, which is also called Bursting with Happiness. So go to www.thejoyseeker.com.
I,
You can
I
see,
want to be a guest on your
yeah,
podcast, by the way.
I think you'd be fantastic. It's all about continuing the
I am
conversation from the
fantastic.
book. Yeah, obviously. Obviously. Yeah, we'll talk for sure.
All right, cool. Sorry, I interrupted you.
That's okay. No, it's just visiting the website. You can sign up to receive my emails. I send them out once every other week or so, just with my blog and some latest news, where you can find me, podcasts I'm on, that sort of thing. But I have a great community of people. And reach out, Maria, if you have any questions about becoming a coach. Send me an email. Happy to help however I can. I just love encouraging people to do what makes them happy and to recognize their greatness.
That is phenomenal. I thank you so much for taking the time out of your busy to be here with me and my guests. But is there anything else you would like to add, or have you already said pretty much everything? I mean, you've said a lot, so did you tell everybody everything you wanted to tell them?
I think my parting words will be, don't downplay your greatness. I think too often we get caught up in our own mind and we get in our own way. We don't step back and think about what we can do and what we do bring to the universe. And I think it's high time we focused on all of the joy that we have, that we are in, and that we can create for other people. Stop focusing on what you can't do. Focus on what you do and how well you do it.
Yes, that was fantastic. Now, I need each and every one of you out there, including you, Lisa, to do me a favor this
You
week,
got
next week, and for the rest of time. I need you guys to make every second
it.
count. Why? Because you never know when the seconds are going to run out on your one life. Hey, you guys have a great night. I'll see you back here next Tuesday, 7 p.m. Eastern Time, where we help you get to where you want to go. Have a great one. Thank you again, Lisa.
Thank you.